Hi, my name is Nick Orlando, and I'm here with my cousin today, Isaiah Alonzo, and we are the Nick Alonzo Real Estate Group. And first and foremost, we just want to say thank you to our current viewers and our future viewers that's tuning into our podcast week by week. Our goal and our objective here is to really pass down the knowledge that we require being in this industry, and also passing down the knowledge that we require from other individuals just doing business with, because they have a lot to pass down. So with that being said, welcome to our very first segment, and we appreciate you guys being here. Hey, what's up, cuz? How you doing?
Cuz, hey, let's go. Hey, that was fire. First
That
of
was
all,
good.
that was fire. I love that.
Thank you. I practiced that.
Hey, let's go. That's fire.
So, talking about the segment, we're obviously
Yeah.
going to talk about some things, and
Yeah.
there's some things that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about just what we're going to do on this podcast.
Let's run it.
We're going to talk about the NAR settlement, which is
Yep.
the National Association of Realtors. I'm sure that some of the viewers, if they're just clicking through Yahoo or some of these other search engine sites,
IG, TikTok now.
exactly, for the younger
Yep.
crowd, they'll see what's going on with the real estate industry as far as
Yep.
commission goes. And then
Heck yeah.
lastly, just kind of give a little market update about what's going on. But before we get into that, let's just talk about how you got into real estate.
Yeah, great question. So to make the long story long,
Like they say.
so
Yeah.
growing up, I was always hyper focused into sports, basketball, football. That's really it, but hyper focused, right? And as time went by, I started to focus more on basketball, right? And of course, I was on the grind, right? And one of the biggest things I wanted to make it to college and into the league and all
Yep.
that, right?
And then you found out you're 5'8".
Yep. Dang it. Hey, thanks,
Right,
Mom.
right.
Dang it.
For those
So-
of people who don't know, we're
Yep.
both half Filipino, so
yep. The
there ain't
Filipino
too
side.
many
Dang
6'3" Filipinos out. If they are, they're an anomaly.
Hey,
But for most
that's
of
an
us,
anomaly,
yeah,
anomaly for real. So I was super hyper focused onto basketball, but it's funny because in the back of my mind, I always loved business. There was something about business that always just drew me in, right? And so I even remember distinctly in the 4th grade, I was watching this movie called Haunted House with Eddie Murphy, and in that movie, Eddie Murphy was a real estate agent, and so
Right.
I thought to myself, like, man, if basketball doesn't work out, I could definitely be a real estate agent.
No.
And so, and so look where I am now, right? So
Right.
now I'm a real estate agent, and I freaking love it. And honestly, thanks to you and to Andy, like, hey, you guys put me on some real game. So I appreciate
Not a
that.
problem. Thanks to
Yep.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, hey, let's go. Hey,
You know, the
seriously.
thing is Eddie Murphy, I've seen that movie too, and
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy makes it look so easy as a real estate
Nah,
agent. He goes in
seriously.
and he's just closing deals left and
Hey.
right. But it doesn't really show you the really ins and outs of a real estate agent, and really how hard it is.
Doesn't
right?
show you the
It's-
start, too.
Exactly,
The start,
right?
woo.
And you've been in for a couple years, so
Yeah, 2 years now.
you know how hard this can be. You know
Yeah.
how it is to navigate with different buyers, different sellers.
Yeah,
Every situation
that's real.
is different. So, no, I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
for me, how I got into real estate, and you kind of know this story already,
Yeah.
but for our viewers,
Yeah.
got in about a little over 5 years ago, and
Mhm.
time flies. And a buddy of mine, Zane Jacobs, who was already a loan officer at the time, was already in the industry for at
Yeah.
least 3 years at that time, said, hey, man, I think you'd be good to kind of segue into this industry.
Yeah.
You're with the Department of Labor as an investigator, and you're already associating yourself with certain individuals navigating to certain situations. So he told me to come in, and I came in, and it's been a cool roller coaster ride ever since. So that's
Let's
kind of,
go.
both for our background. So,
Yeah.
for our viewers out there. So
And then to cut you off a little
Yep,
bit, my bad, cuz.
it's all good.
But what I know obviously what you did before real estate, but if you could tell our viewers, like, what was your background before real estate, before you got into the business world? I know, right?
Yeah.
But what did you do before that?
Yeah. So, I think for anybody that's just really trying to navigate through their own
Yeah.
personal life,
Yeah.
at 17 years old, I think like most people are graduating like 18 years old now.
Yeah.
But I graduated at 17, not really understanding what I was going to do. My dad was a steel mill worker,
Yeah.
and just retired actually.
Yeah.
Actually been 18. But I know I didn't want to be a steel mill worker. My
Mhm.
dad didn't want to be a steel mill worker. I would have been 4th generation at the time.
Yeah.
So I went to the Marine Corps, enlisted at 17, did a couple of
Ooh.
tours. I know. Did a couple of tours in Iraq. And so that was an experience in itself. So I got out at 22 with really, again, some life experiences that I
Yeah.
would never be able to acquire again, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully not to be in that situation
Yeah.
again. And then from there, I became a federal police officer at the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Mhm.
And then from there, I was a investigator with the Department of Labor.
Yeah.
And then simultaneously, I was going to college at that time.
Yeah.
And then I got into actually some entrepreneurship, got into some businesses here and there, opening with my buddies. Some were successful, some weren't. That's obviously
Yeah.
for a later time to kind of discuss that. But
Yep.
I had a plethora of different experiences in my life.
Yeah.
And so I think that all kind of came into play when I got into real estate, because
Yeah.
when you do meet a lot of people in this industry,
Yeah.
you realize, a lot of people come from different backgrounds, different
That's real.
cultures,
Yeah.
different experiences, and you got to be able to kind of navigate that. So
That's super
it
real.
was really cool to come into play
And then-
as I got older.
And then my follow-up question to that, which is crazy. Hey, thanks for your service, cuz you're a freaking
No
beast.
problem.
My follow-up question to that is like, how do you go from like being a freaking Marine, serving in war and all that, to now being a freaking entrepreneur and a realtor and a businessman? Like what's your thought process? What was your thought process kind of just
No, I understand what
transitioning?
you're trying to say. There's a lot of contribution that comes
Yeah.
from being in the Marine Corps. I'm actually got to do this coming up couple months in June. I'm
Yeah.
actually going to be on a panel
Yeah.
talking to veterans who are in businesses, some are real estate
Oh,
agents,
what?
and kind of discuss
Yeah.
how we use our military background to kind of navigate the business world.
That's actually fine. I didn't even know that.
Yep,
Hey,
yep.
it comes out.
So,
Yeah.
I say for the first thing is obviously discipline, right? You could
Yeah.
go to any high individual sports member like Mike Tyson, will tell you there's nothing
Yeah.
without discipline. So that's the first
Wow.
thing I think they
That's good.
instill into you in the military, not just the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
is be disciplined on what you want to do.
Yeah.
Be focused on what you're trying to do. Have a plan.
Yeah.
Also have a contingency plan if
That's real.
if plan A doesn't work.
Mhm.
So I took a lot about what I learned from the military to my everyday business life.
Yeah.
So it's worked out well so far. Hasn't failed me yet.
Okay. So,
No,
hey,
so that's a great
fire.
question.
Yeah.
So kind of go to the next topic. Really what this kind of podcast is going to be about.
Yep.
Other than real estate, that's going to be our kind of central piece.
Mhm.
But we're going to bring people in,
Yeah.
such as home inspectors,
Yep.
termite inspectors, tax representatives,
Mhm.
to help, because again, people don't understand, like, it's not just buying a home. You could be doing a 1031 exchange,
Yeah.
selling an investment property, buying a home. You can be a first-time home buyer.
That's real.
You could be a high-level executive who needs to move from one state to another. So there's a lot of different levels to that. Probably also bring in some first-time home buyers. I think
That's good.
hearing their experiences, I think, and realizing what it took from them
That's
to get
good.
into a house,
Yeah.
some of their experiences and stories. And it's not always pleasant. I think people have
Yeah.
a misunderstanding. It's like,
Definitely.
I think most people
Woo.
understand that
Yeah.
buying a home, especially first-time home buyers that are seasoned now,
Yeah.
that it's not always a smooth ride.
That's
And I
real.
think that's why sometimes you have to have some good agents to come in and guide them in that
That's
process.
real. We can have Josh and Clarissa on here if you
Right,
guys are watching. Hey, that'll be fire.
Right, exactly. And then also, just, I think on a side note,
Yeah.
because I just don't want to be so heavy on real estate.
Yeah.
As I talked about earlier, we've met a lot of people
Mhm.
along our ways of business, and I've met quite a few different people, great stories, crazy stories,
Yeah.
type of business they've done. So
Wow.
I think it's in our best interest to bring those type of people in as well, and just
Definitely.
hear about their entrepreneurship, what
Agreed.
they've done in their business. And I think not only will that will just help us succeed further,
Agreed.
but obviously help succeed for the viewers as well, that, get a little nugget. So
Yes, sir.
that's what our podcast is going to be. Obviously, there's going to be some changes along the way.
Yeah.
And we just, we'll grow together and see what happens.
Let's run it.
So other than the talking about what we're going to be doing on our podcast,
Yeah.
the meat and potatoes, a couple things we're going to talk about today because our very first segment.
Let's run it.
And
I'm
I don't want
ready.
to go too crazy today,
I'm ready.
but we're going to start with the NAR settlement. Okay. And I kind of talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
The National Association of Realtors. So again, people have been scrolling. I'm sure they viewed it before.
Even my boy brought it up at the gym. We
Yeah.
were hitting the weights and he's like, bro, did you see that lawsuit? And I'm like, dang. Everybody's heard about this lawsuit. Like, dang, that's crazy. Like,
No, I mean,
yeah.
it's a big deal, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of
Yeah.
what was there before,
yeah, I agree.
what's new,
Mhm.
what effect it may have.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have a crystal ball, so no one's really going to tell. And this effect that I'm going to talk about doesn't happen until July anyways.
Yeah.
But the very first thing is what NAR has done. Well, let me just tell you, let me back up to that.
Yeah.
How NAR even got to that point, okay?
Mhm.
There was a collective group of basically sellers, and they did a class action lawsuit.
Mhm.
And they sued some primary brokerages out there. Keller Williams is one of them.
Yeah.
I think Compass is, and if they aren't, my apologies on that. But some very big brokerages that are
Yeah.
out there got sued, and they pretty much all settled. Okay, multi-million-dollar settlements across the board. Now, NAR, who is our big association, you can think of them as a big kind of union.
Yeah.
They basically initially they were going to appeal,
Yeah.
but from what they discussed with us, all the realtors come to find out that they didn't appeal. They basically settled as well.
Wow.
Is that it would have been $1 billion dispute, and they just didn't have the money, and so they would have went
Yeah.
bankrupt in the process.
Yeah.
So when that happened, couple things were guaranteed in this settlement. Number one, commissions. People that are not real estate agents don't
Yeah.
know this, but commissions were usually stamped on our MLS to let us know what us as buying agent represent the buyer, what kind of commission we would get.
Right.
That's no longer going to be there. So that means
Yeah.
buyer agents who represent somebody is going to have to call that agent and figure out, hey, what are you paying us
Yeah.
to bring our buyer in to kind of see your property?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's number one. And two, I think what people
Yeah.
don't realize about this commission too is
Yeah.
it's always been able to
Negotiable, huh?
negotiate. It's always
Yeah.
been negotiable. I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that a lot of people say. It's like
I've been seeing that a lot lately too. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
right,
But
right,
yeah.
exactly, right.
Yeah.
They've been saying, oh, now you can. I think President Biden said you can
Yeah.
now negotiate your commissions. That's always
Yeah.
been the case. You're always
Yeah.
negotiated. What happened is people don't realize is the commissions were baked into the sale. Okay, and there was
Right,
a
okay.
primary reason for that in the beginning.
Yeah.
It had to do a lot with first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
So it costs anyone around 6% on average,
Yeah.
right? Depending on your finances,
Mhm.
6% of the sales price
Yeah.
to even buy a home. So when you're looking at a $500,000 house, which is incredible, not incredible, it's weird for me to say that
Yeah.
it's really the average home these days, right?
Crazy.
That kind of median price range.
Yeah.
But 6% of that is around 30,000,
Right.
right? And that's give or take
Mhm.
$5,000, depending on where your credit score is,
Yeah.
what you're willing to put down. So
Yeah.
now imagine if the sellers believe that they don't have to, well, again, they were able to negotiate this commission, but now they believe that they may not have to offer
Yeah.
the buying agent anything that used to be baked in the sale.
Yeah.
So, when you think about that, it seems great,
Yeah.
right? You're like, okay, awesome. The seller gets to save money.
Yeah.
But the problem is now there's these unintended consequences. I think the biggest one is people don't realize a lot of these buyers are first-time home buyers, right? So if you're already coming in 30,000 on average,
Yeah.
now you possibly have to pay your buying agent in addition to that, which was already baked into the
Yeah.
deal,
Mhm.
to buy a home.
That's real.
Okay.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's already hard enough to buy a home for a lot of buyers, especially
Right.
first-time home buyers,
Right.
right? So
Right.
why add in, I don't know. I mean, the fact that they might have to come in with that extra 2 to 3% commission,
Right.
But I think also, like, there's different ways of negotiating that. Like, you can maybe go straight to the seller. If that doesn't work, maybe you could get a seller credit. I don't know. I've seen different videos from different professionals on what you can do to still get that commission.
Right.
But yeah, yeah.
Right. And again,
sorry to cut you off
it's
too.
no,
Yeah.
it's all right. No, it's a good point you brought.
Yeah.
It's going to be funky. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's not going to happen until July. I don't
Yeah.
have a crystal ball, like I said in the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen.
Mhm.
I believe some sellers are
Yeah.
still going to offer commission because think about this: if you're offering something to come in and bring in their buyers, and
Yeah.
now all of a sudden you're offering nothing, what buying agents are going to bring
Yeah.
their buyers to see it? And people say, well, why would you do that? Well, because people don't work for free.
Hey, that's real though. Like,
You know?
I definitely think, like, I don't know. I just feel like it's so custom that some sellers might just be like, "Hey man," like, go and talk to when they talk to the client, like, "Hey man, like, I know it's gonna be an extra 3% out of your pocket, but you might get even more top dollar from offering a 3% commission because this house around the block
Right.
isn't offering
Right.
any commission at all."
So,
So
again, that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. You brought up another great point.
Yeah.
What if you're the one house that's being surrounded by 3 other homes in the same block that's
Right.
selling, and you're the only guy that's not offering, or check this out,
Yeah.
you're the only guy offering commission.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone else is offering 0.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens then?
Oh yeah.
Right. That person might get overflooded.
Yeah.
Right.
They're gonna get offer after offer after offer.
Now, let's also talk about this because I think
Yeah.
I thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Buyers. So you're saying, okay, well, now I don't have to offer them any money.
Yeah.
So does a buyer have to represent themselves? And that's kind of
Yeah.
hard, right? Again, first-time home
Yeah.
buyers.
That's gonna be
and
real
again,
hard.
people don't
Yeah.
realize the thousands of pages you get just for reading disclosures
That's
about
real.
that property.
That's real.
That's why a good agent has the ability to kind of give you synopsis or give you
Yeah.
a thorough understanding of
That's
what
real.
you're signing. Now
I
they
agree.
have to possibly represent themselves.
Yeah.
Or you go and see a house that you like.
Yeah.
And then the selling agent who's representing the seller
Yeah.
may want to represent you as well.
Yeah, and be like, kind of lowball them on the commission. Be like, okay, I'll give you, it'll only be 1%, or it'll only
Right.
be, like if you work with me, to where if you work with this buyer's agent,
Right,
No,
exactly. You
yeah.
work with the buyer agent, you might
I
have
think
to
that's
do
where you're going.
2%,
Yeah.
and the seller,
Yeah.
But here's what I say for buyers though.
Yeah.
If you're getting represented by the selling agent,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And the selling agent initially was representing the seller,
Yeah. Yeah.
who's really representing who? Do they have the seller's best interest in mind to get them
Right.
top dollar?
That's real.
Or does the
That's real.
buyer believe that the person that's representing the seller initially
Yeah.
is going to get them the best price possible?
Mm,
So again, I think there's a lot of things to take in consideration
that's real.
when they're talking about this settlement. So,
That's real.
we won't know until July.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think, like, even what we've talked about, just to let the viewers know, like, I think, like, it's definitely gonna weed out a lot of agents, But I think, honestly, I think it can go either way, and I think it's gonna be awesome to see what happens because we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere.
No,
It
that's
doesn't matter what
yeah,
happens.
we're gonna ride this wave. It's gonna changes happen.
We ain't going
Yeah.
nowhere. So like we're gonna stay here, even if we lose out on a couple checks in the next couple months. Like I already know we're not going nowhere. And so I think who knows, maybe doubling down on buyers might even get you more business, right? Because some agents might not want to help them.
Yeah.
And then also, I think, I don't know if you brought this up already, but the buyer broker agreement, like
Right.
that's also, it's gonna weed out who's a real buyer, or kind of, right? It's gonna kind of weed out who's
No,
a real buyer, who's
you're-
not, and
Yeah,
you know?
you're right. The buyer, and
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up. 'Cause I
Yeah.
forgot all about that's part of
Yeah.
the settlement as well. So
Yeah.
one of the agreements is that before that buyer can even go see a home. Actually,
Yeah.
I say that not before they can see a home, but
Yeah.
excuse me, before an agent can even represent you as a
Yeah.
buyer,
Yeah.
you must sign a buyer's broker agreement.
Yeah.
Where the buyer has to tell you, if the seller's not willing to pay you any commission,
Yeah.
I am willing to pay you X amount for your services.
Right.
And when you mean about weeding people out, it's
Yeah.
gonna really come down to value.
Yeah.
What value do you have? Am I willing
Yeah.
to pay X amount because you're
That's real.
experienced? So
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
real.
not experienced, I don't think you're worth X amount. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
no one knows. We're gonna see what's gonna
That's
happen.
gonna be crazy.
July.
Woo!
So July,
I'm
yeah.
excited though. I
Yeah.
think I think it's gonna be
The
it's
market,
gonna be
yeah.
dope. Yeah.
Or again, nothing can happen at all.
That's
It's just
real.
gonna go
Maybe
back
we'll
to,
stay. Maybe it will
yeah.
stay. You know.
Yeah, we'll
like,
see. Yeah.
even where it's been. You know, the
Right.
last couple of years. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right, so that's the
It's
NAR
all up
settlement.
in the
Yeah,
air.
yeah, and a lot of people again, they'll probably when it comes closer to
Yeah.
July, a lot of people will get a lot more information.
100%.
They'll
Yeah, I
ask a
agree.
lot more questions, especially buyers. Who am I doing? What am I
Yeah,
doing?
that's real.
Okay,
And you
so
know what I noticed though? I know we want to
Yeah.
move on to the next subject, but like what I've noticed, at least in the real estate game, a lot of buyers, especially first-time home buyers, they don't know how you're getting paid. So I've had buyers personally ask me
Yeah.
like, okay, so how do we pay you your commission? Or how does that work? They've asked me that. I've had multiple buyers ask me that.
right,
And so I don't even think it will maybe it will affect the buyers, right? Maybe not. Seasoned buyers, they're
Right.
gonna be like, well, I think it
Right.
might affect their thoughts on everything. But
no, absolutely,
a
yeah,
lot of first-time home buyers, like they're not very, to put this in the most
Right.
respectful way possible, but educated on how a buyer's agent, was getting paid in the past, right? So,
right.
so
No,
I don't remember where I was going with that, but
no, you're right. You're
yeah,
right. Again,
yeah,
how this is going to go as far
Yeah.
as like the buyer goes asking that question. It's
Yeah.
usually first time home buyer, like you
yeah,
said,
yeah,
a seasoned buyer that's been one or two.
yeah,
Those that have had great experiences
Yeah.
with an agent and say, yeah, I understand how difficult it is.
yeah,
I'm willing to pay X amount to make sure that everything I'm doing is up to par
right,
and the process moves faster.
Yeah.
First time home buyers have never had that experience before. So
That's real.
maybe they're going to be more reluctant to even pay anything or pay
Yeah.
something because again,
yeah, that's
you're
real.
talking about stacking X amount of money up front and then
Yeah.
extra. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's the NAR. So let's
Hey,
get
yeah,
past
it's a whole
that.
bunch. It's a whole bunch.
Yep. So let's talk about the market real quick.
Yeah.
And again, we won't get too depth into this, and
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of individuals get updated a lot. You can go on
Yeah.
bankrate.com
Yeah.
and get the understanding of what the interest rates are.
Or even give a loan officer your information, and you'll find out what the market's like every week.
Exactly.
Like,
You're gonna
they'll
email.
update you with interest rates and
Right.
a whole bunch of email blasts.
And that's why we're gonna get a loan officer on here because
Yeah.
we really want to talk
Let's
about
do
rates,
it.
and I don't
It's
think
gonna be awesome.
people. And again, first time home buyers. I
Yeah.
don't think they really take in consideration
Yeah.
if your credit score, how much your credit score affects your interest rate. Obviously, there's more variables
yeah.
to that.
Mhm.
But again, not having good credit score
Yeah.
just causes a whole heap of problems.
Yeah.
So that's probably another thing I'll get on here too, is someone that talks
Yeah.
about credit and talk
Heck
about
yeah,
how to
that's gonna
fix
be-
that and what the
Oh
difference
yeah,
is.
credit guy. That would
Yeah.
be nice.
We'll get a credit guy
We're
on
gonna
here
get
too.
him. Yep.
But just talk about interest rates real quick.
Yeah.
I know a lot of it's been climbing on average
Yeah.
over 7%.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, if your credit's good, you
Mhm.
don't have a lot of debt. And
Yeah.
your debt to income ratio, that's what they call it, anywhere probably 6.8%.
Yeah.
Again, that's low average.
Yeah.
And then all the way up to probably like 7.1, 7.2. So you're kind of looking at that range. But
Right.
the Federal Reserve hasn't shown anything to bring it down at all. And obviously, the inflation is
Yeah.
a big problem still. So
Yeah.
we'll see
And
what happens there.
I know. And I did see, so, at the beginning of the year, I think the Fed, I don't know how accurate this is, but I feel like they'll give updates, right? And so one of the updates I did see though, which is kind of good news for buyers, is that in 2024, they were saying that there was going to be 3 interest rate decreases, which is pretty dang awesome.
Right.
So the first one that was projected when the rates were projected to decrease, they waived that one. So it didn't decrease.
Yep.
And so now they're projecting that there's going to be 2 rate decreases in 2024, which will be amazing, right? And I think that's a big reason why the market's been super competitive all of a sudden again. Like, I know in December rates came down to like 6% or something, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe even a little bit lower. And now on average, I mean, we know, right? I mean, like I've been seeing lately an average of like 5 to 6 offers on every home. People are starting to go 20, 30%, $30,000 over asking again. And it makes me wonder, like, dang, this is the market at 6%. I can't imagine how it's going to look when it goes to 4, like, or if it goes to 4. We don't have a crystal ball, but.
Whew. No, you brought up some good points. When the COVID was happening, right? You remember that monster of a roller coaster? People just thought that.
That's when I first hopped in the game.
Yeah, first got in. That was crazy. When COVID happened, it was just the wild, wild west. Prices were just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Interest rates were just rock bottom. And people were just buying left and right. Now that the rates have kind of shot up dramatically, as it did, it's created a lot of confusion in the market. Even the last 6 months, right? We thought rates may go down.
Yeah.
And people listen to that. If they believe rates are going to go down, they're going to jump into the market and try to ride that wave.
Gosh, yeah.
But rates have consistently gone up. So to answer your question is initially it kind of created a standstill in the industry where people just stopped buying homes because the rates were so high. We weren't getting any offers, like you said. Then
like November, right? In
exactly.
November, like September, it was rough. I remember, like
Yeah. And then later on, for these most current months, is that more offers have gone on the table, and I think the reason why is people were realizing, shoot, rates are not really going down.
That's real,
I either got to jump in something now, and hopefully bite the bullet, right, as far as the rates going even higher. So if you get into a house now, but if the rates go lower, then you can refi, so you're winning.
That's real.
You just want to catch it before it keeps going higher. So people say, I'll wait till it goes, down to 4%. I think there's a higher chance for it to go up to 8% before it goes to 4%. I don't even think that's ever, because again, why when they go that low? Well, it's going to cause another havoc. And
if they do go to 4, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Keep that thought. If they do go to 4, competition is going to be crazy. Like like it's already crazy right now since December, since January. So continue. Sorry, I didn't.
No. You make great points, and that was a valid point too. And then we got to remember also, as far as inflation goes, right? The more money that circulates, the worse the inflation is. So if we go, this rates drop down dramatically, and there's another influx of dramatic money being put into the economy, that creates the inflation to go higher in percentage for the rates. So obviously if they're going to do it, they're going to do it slowly and methodically, I believe, but I'm not the Federal Reserve. So that's rates. And we talked about we made a lot of good points, because I was going to bring up the inventory. And we kind of talked about that already, is where you brought up a lot more people coming and writing offers. What are you seeing in inventory out there? There's a lot of homes on the market. You do a lot of open houses. You're there all the time. So is there a lot of inventory on the market you're seeing?
Yeah, so I know, even from when I first came in, a huge problem was inventory.
Right.
Like before, when I first started, most of my business was centralized in Lathrop, Manteca, Tracy, the Central Valley, for any of you guys don't know where that's at. And if that doesn't help, an hour from SF, an hour from SAC. And so when I first started, there was probably like 11 homes on the market in Lathrop, maybe like 15 or 20 in Tracy. And that should tell you a lot about the inventory. Crazy low. That's why people were outbidding each other by $80,000, $90,000, right? And so even as rates have gone up, right, I know still a big issue is inventory, right? Sorry, I don't even know why I was looking at the camera. I should be looking at you. A super big, even now, right? I know that a super big issue is inventory, and that's why people, again, are outbidding each other, right? Because there's not enough supply for the demand, right? So yeah, to answer your question, I hope I'm answering it correctly. A big problem in today's market and in the last, I'm sure, couple years has been inventory. The inventory is super low, and that's why California is such a it's such a shark world when it comes to real estate, because
it is.
My goodness, everything's low. Like,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And like you said, inventory's low, and you said another great thing is the demand is still there, right? You would think that with the interest rates being that high, the demand may, and it has lowered in a sense, right? A lot of loan officers not getting as many pre-qualification
Right. Yeah.
applications in. And obviously, no one's even refinancing right now because the rates keep
Why
going.
would they?
Exactly, they're not going to go to a 2.5% to 7%. That's
Yeah.
another reason why inventory is low. No one wants to sell their home
That's real.
because of the low interest rates they got.
Yeah.
So again, it's a funky market.
It's funky.
We're gonna see what's gonna happen in July. Another cog in the wheel to this problem
Yeah.
in the market. But you know, we'll definitely see what happens in July. So
And imagine this. This is just my imagination going all over the place. Imagine right when the NAR settlement kicks in, rates come low. What's gonna happen? Oh my gosh! Like rates are low. The market buyers are gonna want to buy again. It's gonna be crazy. I mean, they're already going crazy right now, but it's gonna get even crazier. This is just, you know, again, I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but I'm just imagining it. Like,
well, you're imagining it because you've been through it already. You've seen how crazy a market could be on the COVID side to now to, so you can only imagine what can happen. You're like, oh my gosh, another twist. Twist on this ride.
That's gonna be weird. That's gonna be crazy. Like, you know, people are gonna be like, I want to buy this house. I don't know how. You know, here, I'll pay you 2%. I'll pay you 3%. I'll pay you whatever. I don't know. Like, it's gonna be crazy though. I'm excited to see.
No, it's gonna be cool.
If that happens, hypothetical in my imagination, it's gonna be a cool hypothetical.
All right, we'll see.
I'm
We'll
ready
see what
for
happens.
it.
So that's pretty much it for today. We've
Awesome.
talked about the market. We've talked about NAR. We talked about what's going to happen on this podcast. I'm excited to bring more people. I'm excited.
ready.
You know, and just to let the viewers know,
Let's go.
Interchangeably, it's going to be either Isaiah or me hosting somebody. We also have a table here that you guys haven't seen yet, and that table is going to be able to host like the major host for a podcast. So we'll be able to do at least 3 people in here, maybe squeeze in 4. So we'll definitely get that going on.
Fire.
And then we'll work on quite a few other things. Again, bear with us. You guys are going to see us grow. You're going to see different aesthetics happening.
Let's go.
Wires will be hidden and things like that. And so, look, he just got in front of my camera. See what's going on?
Hey, my bad.
He thought it was over. But that's why we do this podcast.
I knew it wasn't over. I was actually going to tell them, finish your thing, and then I was going to tell them, I was going to ask them to do something for us. So
go ahead. That's where he said he likes cutting me off.
My bad. I know. My bad. No, I was going to also say, follow our new Instagram. Hold on. I forgot what the name was. Okay, our new Instagram. We're going to be posting all our podcast clips on there. It's called Nick Alonzo Group. We'll put this on the screen later on, but follow our new Instagram. We're gonna have TikTok, YouTube Shorts.
Well, he's gonna do TikTok. That's a little young for me. I'm not a TikTok guy. You know, my cousin likes to dance, I guess. But no, but again, thank you guys for showing up to segment number 1. This is the Nick Alonzo Group podcast number 1. We appreciate you guys coming, and hopefully we see you guys every week. Thank you.
Hey, hold on, don't cut it off. We gotta dap it up, cause for the end of our first episode. Let's go.
That was it. Conquered.
Let's run it.
Conquered. It was hard. Well, appreciate you guys.
Hey, let's run it. They know, see.